So I've gathered the tools recommended for the job. I've got a rubber mallet sitting on the other side just in case I need it. I've got an impact driver with a Phillips head screwdriver bit, level, square, tape measure. And again, I've sorted all my pieces out so when I go to grab them I can find them pretty easily. Just one more thing to note, there are markings on the ends of these boards. Like that's a D6. This looks like a P1, P2. So all your boards are marked also. So when you go to put them together, when you're following the directions, at least they're labeled properly so you can actually tell what pieces you're trying to put together. So step one of the assembly is D4 and D9s. You're going to repeat this 2 times. And then the next step, I'm just going to do these all sort of at the same time, D1s and D8s. So that's the longer and shorter sweeps. So basically you've got the short and long sweeps. And then again, these are all labeled on the ends of them. So I've got them D1, D2, D4, D5, D8, D9, all separated to make it easier for me. It's not super hot here today. It's nice and sunny. It's probably 75, maybe 80 degrees. Don't put your bolts in the sun. They're black. They're coated with like a plastic coat. They get super hot. So I've rearranged my bolts. I'm going to put something over top of them to keep them cool. So I've got my first bolts ready over here in the shade. I went ahead and put the washers on top of them so I can just put them together. And then it says do not tighten them, so I'm just going to loosely assemble it right now and then tighten it up whenever the instructions tell me to. So I've got my pieces laid out here. I'm using a wireless mic today. I haven't used this before on anything outdoors, so I'm not sure how it's going to work. Hopefully the wind doesn't do it too bad. It's not super windy, but it definitely has a breeze out. Showing the bolt going through the lumber, the long lumber side. And then this is a barrel nut. This is going to go through the inside. So basically, we're going to drop this through, like so, and then feed the bolt through the other side, or vice versa. So drop that. And for now we're just hand tightening only, so I'm sure that's so we can line the tops up later on. With that locking washer on the other side, it seems to tighten up okay. Oh. Washer. With that locking washer on the other side, it actually lets you tighten these up by hand pretty good. Again, we're not going to tighten, we're just going to snug them up for now. So that's part 1 done. Let's do this one, move on to the next step. So you can see out in the yard, that's my first 2 pieces. So my next step will be the part 2, which is basically the same thing over again. It's D1 with the D8, so it's the longer boards. I'm going to put those together and we'll go to the next step. Alright, so I'm putting these together now. World, bleep that out.
Well,
Didn't knock the bolt out, did I?
well, I don't think so.
Well, then when you go to tighten it up. Tighten it up.
I think so. No. Not enough, apparently.
You need the impact on that. So the next step is to take our joist supports that we just built. We're going to take our 90-inch ones first, and then in the next step we're going to take the longer 114-inch ones. So this is going to be sort of like what we just did. We're going to just repeat on both sides. So we're going to take our posts, we're going to lay our joist assembly inside, put the D5 across it, and bolt them together with the bolts that it says. So I've got it laid out here. I haven't got it bolted together yet, but I'm not going to make you watch me bolt it together. It's pretty simple. Stick the bolts through, put the nuts on. Screw goes through the side to hold this together. So I'm going to put all 4 of these together, so I'll have 4 pieces ready to stand up, and then I guess we're going to stand them up, and then we'll bolt them together with the longer pieces to hold them in place. So I've got the first one fit together. I'm going to go ahead and tighten these bolts up so I can put the lag in through this. Again, this piece is still loose, which we want. Make sure you use your square, and you want to square up these poles before you tighten them. So it's hard to do this with a camera, but I'm going to take my square, put it on the edge, and I'm just going to turn it so I've got a nice straight line across there. I'm going to tighten my bolts up. Make sure you square these up. If not, it's going to be lopsided and not going to look good. So one more little tip while I'm doing this. I'm pretty much doing this by myself. I've got a little bit of help lifting things here and there, but before I put these together, if you lift up, put the bolt through like so, then you'll be able to just set your post right on top of it. So I've got these 2 pieces here ready to go, the 2 arches. I'm going to take one of these arches and pull it out this way. I'm going to lean the other one up against the house. It's a little breezy today, so I'm going to have my wife help me hold it up. And I'm going to take the other 2 joists and bolt them in place. I've got it pushed back to where it's about where I want to keep it at. I've got the supports on both sides, so I've got a big open square now. So we're ready to move on to the next step.
19.
So the next thing is to do the in-joist pieces. I haven't screwed those down yet. It says 15 and 7/16 spacing. So I just went ahead and laid them out. I got them in place. So I got my impact and my lag bolts. I'm going to shoot those into the top. So far I've had really no issues at all putting this together. The only thing I see is I got one piece of wood here that was pretty dry, and when I went to tighten the bolts it collapsed in. I'm going to just send them a little email, and they'll probably send me another piece. But besides that, I could probably flip it on the inside, no one would ever see it. But it's a really brittle piece of wood compared to the rest of them, so I'll just have them send me another one. Alright, so all those are attached now. Spacing worked out almost perfectly. I had to move one just a little bit, but for the most part, worked out perfect. So the next thing is the P1 and P2s, which are just our cross beams. Now if you're going to cover this up, you could probably put a like a plastic roof or a metal roof on top of it if you're going to cover it. I don't think I'd put those extra beams on it because the roofing will hold it in place, but that's up to you. If you're going to leave it open like I'm going to, I'm going to use the P1s and P2s. So for this part right here, since there's so many of these to cut, I made a little cheater block. So I just took a little 2x4 that I had, and I made it the 7/11/16, and I'll just lay this in between the slots. So every time I put one up there, I can put this in, screw it down, slide it over, screw it down, work my way across that way. Should save me a ton of time trying to measure every single beam. So basically just take your block and lay it in there for spacing. So when you put the next row up like I've got ready to go, put it up there, screw it in the middle, and then work your way out, placing your block each section. And that keeps you from having to measure every single time you're putting these across. So there's my finished result. About 6 hours worth of work. One person, 2 people at a couple points to just help lift and hold things together while you're putting it together. But overall, pretty happy with the construction, or with the kit. Again, there's that one piece there that I'm going to see if they'll send me a replacement piece for. A couple of the slots up top, or the sides up top, I had to re-drill the holes for them. Most likely it was probably a slight warp in the beams going across, and not necessarily the pre-drilled holes at the top. They're only off 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, just enough to barely miss the wood. So I just re-drilled those, but there weren't many of them. If you're a framer, you probably take the time and just bow those together, but for what I'm doing out here, it's not going to really matter to me that much. I haven't put the feet on it yet. The feet, I'm going to go, I know they make steel ones, since I'm going to put this on the concrete, and we're not sure whether we're going to push it against the house or pull it out towards the middle, move the hot tub a little bit. So I'm going to leave it like that for now, but I'm going to get the metal feet and drop them into the metal feet, and then probably anchor it to the concrete once I get done. It does come with some plastic feet, or you could put this in the ground or on the grass if you wanted to. I would pour little pads if I was putting it out in my yard, just so it stays a little more stable. It's not super heavy. You can move it if you wanted to. I can pick up on it. I can pick up one corner, so 2 or 3 men could easily move this thing around. But overall, again, quite happy with the kit. I think it was $1,350 with Sam's Club with free shipping. Dropped it right off on my doorway. It took them about 2 weeks to get it here. Hope that helps you out. Have a good day, and please click on like and subscribe.